we are still operating on the Thessaloniki agenda. In Thessaloniki in 2003, an agenda for enlargement has been set. All the mechanisms that we are using right now has been agreed at that time. And it has been projected for the enlargement in 2004. So all next enlargement had the methodology and very clear steps and well, I should say steps. But there was one difference between the countries from 2004 and also Romania and Bulgaria and those who are now waiting to join the EU from the Western Balkans. And these are the remaining open issues. The one that are present here, and among them also Kosovo and Serbia question, are mainly deriving from the succession of ex-Yugoslavia, which brought to the conflict in the 90s, and that's why the societies were traumatized and had different ways and different approach to the reforms. It's something that the European Union is still learning, but it is learning effectively. We are preparing more and more internal instruments and ways how to deal and address the bilateral issues. And this is also one of the main points of the internal discussion that the member states and the institutions have on how to improve enlargement, to be able to address also the remaining open issues. It's necessary for the region of the Western Balkans, but also necessary for Moldova and Ukraine and Georgia, who also have European perspective. I will also mention Turkey, but Turkey does not have this kind of issues. So maybe I will not focus on them at the moment. The thing is, when we speak about the dialogue Belgrade-Pristina, we need to step back and try to understand what is this about. It's about an agreement which will change the character of Serbia and which will make Kosovo a state. Because so far, both of them are missing some elements to have one or the two. This is a big thing. It's a really huge thing, and that's why the negotiations are taking so much time. Recently, we had serious deterioration, which we will need to address. And one of the reasons why I was late was also because I had some meetings here in Belgrade to address what has happened on the 24th of September and what are the dimensions and scales of that logistic operation and attacks and what has brought to the point. Recently, what we see as a big challenge is that some scholars who have a deep understanding of the region started to compare a situation in the north of Kosovo with Northern Ireland, with West Bank. These are all very difficult conflicts. We don't want to compare it. We don't want to go there. Although I'm afraid that we are very close to a situation when we will be in these kind of settings. Still, the dialogue will continue and we'll try to prevent that. We will try to use all our efforts to bring both sides back to some sort of a political process and try to de-escalate.
What do you mean by all our efforts? I don't see these all our efforts, or they are not enough.
And isn't this a rather modest level of expectation? I mean, if the best we can do is just do our best, then again, what can Ukraine hope for from us?
No, that's a very solid question. We are operating within the mandate that has been given by the UN and that has been given by the EU. So the facilitator has his own limited mandate. He is trying his utmost. We have to understand that we have managed to agree on a basic agreement from the 17th of February and in Ohrid, the implementation annex, which is not being implemented. So the main effort right now is how to make or to use all our efforts to make the implementation. Now I will try to answer to your question, what are all our efforts? We tried with the measures on Kosovo. That's the one thing. We tried with different instruments that we have, financial and political. We will continue as long as necessary in order to bring both sides back to the table to agree on the implementation of the two, so the agreement and the implementation annex. Maybe it's a little bit abstract, but this is where we are. We will use the member state support, so bilateral member state support, but also institutional.
I just don't want to turn this about Serbia and Kosovo because the topic of our panel is different.
The fact is, the fact is that the nature of the conflict in Ukraine is different than the one in Kosovo. This one is more legal, institutional and constitutional, and that's why it takes much more time and we have less tools. We have only political tools. Whereas the conflict in Ukraine will have a security dimension. And this is, I will pass now the floor to...
Yeah.